First things first, as always, thank you for being here today with us, joining us wherever you may be from across the country, from around the world. This is always a good time for me to test chat. If you just want to drop into chat where you're joining us from, that would be helpful, that I know it's working. Let me just make sure. Okay. Chat should be enabled for all of our guests. So feel free to utilize that. Austin, Texas, LA, here they come. Howdy, another Austin, Bend, Oregon. Welcome, everyone. On behalf of the entire CCI team, first of all, appreciate you taking time to join us in community and learn together. Today, we are excited to be sharing space with Shaun Noorian, the CEO of Empower Pharmacy. As many of you know, Conscious Capitalism is a global community of CEOs, presidents, founders, board members, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders from diverse industries and backgrounds and perspectives who are committed to the shared purpose of elevating humanity through business. Several times a month, we offer virtual gatherings like this one as a way for the community to see how this philosophy takes shape in the leadership journeys and business practices of those in our network. A few housekeeping details. Today's conversation is going to run for about 45 minutes. Shaun and I will be in conversation for about 25 to 35 minutes, and then we're going to spend the last 10 minutes in a question and answer. If we do have any members from our founding membership community with us today, shoot me a direct message in Zoom, a chat, a message, and we'll save that last 15 minutes for a one-on-one Q&A with Shaun. What else can I tell you? How about we just get into the conversation? To tee things up, I want to say that when purpose aligns with stakeholder service, the results can be truly transformative. And this is certainly the case with Shaun, his leadership, and Empower Pharmacy. Today, we're going to delve into the world, an innovative one, of functional medicine and the crucial role that pharmacies play in delivering personalized healthcare solutions. We're going to explore how, under Shaun's leadership, Empower Pharmacy truly became a pioneer in the industry through their groundbreaking approach and focus on functional and integrative medicine. A couple tactical takeaways, just so we can get to the conversation sooner. I'm just going to put these into chat. These are some of the tactical takeaways that I hope to bring to today's conversation with everyone. Give me one moment. Yeah, sorry. It was a numbered list, but the line breaks represent the bullet points. There's 4 in total there. Let me get into Shaun's bio quickly before we get into the conversation. Shaun Noorian is the founder and CEO of Empower Pharmacy and Empower Pharma. It's the largest 503A compounding pharmacy in the country and FDA-registered 503B outsourcing facility, specializing in manufacturing, distribution, and dispensing of health and wellness medications. Empower is dedicated to expanding access to quality, affordable medications. They're based in Houston, Texas, with another manufacturing facility in New Jersey. Empower is committed to improving lives through innovative pharmaceutical solutions. Shaun holds a degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Texas. Forgive me, any Longhorns. University of Texas at Austin. His background is in engineering, manufacturing, quality control, and entrepreneurship. His expertise drives Empower's mission to produce innovative medications that help people live healthier and happier lives. Shaun, I want to just let's get into it. And I think maybe it might be best to just, what is functional medicine? For the benefit of our audience. Some may have heard of it, others have not. What is it? How do you think about it? And as a second component to that question, share a little bit about your personal journey, because I think it illuminates what functional medicine truly is and how it can benefit someone.
Sure, absolutely. And my personal journey, dealt with an introduction to functional medicine. And so, going back to why I decided to start a compounding pharmacy, when I graduated college back in December of 2007, I wanted to be an automotive engineer. I'd grown up building, racing, upgrading cars. And of course, so I went to UT, got my degree there. And but the car industry was not hiring in December of '07, to say the least. And so, well, like most engineers in Texas that are looking for work, I did oil and gas. And I was very lucky to get a job working for Schlumberger, doing hydraulic fracturing as a field engineer. And that is a hard job, to say the least. A lot of the my fellow operators and engineers out there, it's like breaking our backs day in and day out, trying to make sure that we can get energy out of the well and into the refineries. So, of course, about 9 months in the job, I broke my back. I was lifting a very heavy piece of pipe the wrong way, and hemorrhaged several of my lower vertebrae. And so I was put in physical therapy, and the doctor that was treating me noticed that I was very skinny for my age. Back then, I was 25 years old, and I weighed about 125 pounds, being 5'10". So always been an endomorph, haven't been able to gain weight, lose weight. It's always been that steady 125. And, the doctor decided to take my blood. And it was the first time I'd had my blood taken since I was a child, pretty much. As most men are hesitant to go to doctors for any reason whatsoever, I was one of those men. And it wasn't until I was forced in the healthcare system that they figured out what was wrong with me. Well, there was a reason I was so skinny, and there was a reason I probably got injured. I had very little muscle mass to be lifting that weight. Turns out I had the testosterone level of an 80-year-old man. And, so it's odd for a 25-year-old to have a testosterone level that low. And so they sent me to a specialist in my own backyard of Houston, which just happens to be the largest medical center in the world. And they determined what was wrong with me. It turns out I was born with a pituitary disorder. My pituitary gland doesn't create luteinizing hormone or follicle stimulating hormone, the two chemical hormones signals that tell your body to produce testosterone and sperm. And so it turns out I was infertile and hypogonadal. And this doctor decided to send me to a compounding pharmacy to get my prescriptions filled, because one, he realized that I would have to be on these medications for the rest of my life. And, for all his patients, that could be anywhere from 50 years to 20 years. So quite a bit of time. And that most pharmaceutical companies increase the cost of their medications by 11% a year on average. And so, you do the math, 11% a year compounded over 50 years, probably would not be able to afford this therapy for a majority of my life. And whereas compounding pharmacies, increased their prices by about inflation, and so patients that get on a therapy can be assured that they can stay on that therapy for the rest of their lives without price being a significant factor. And then the other reason was outcomes by customizing or individualizing my therapy. And compounding pharmacies, that's pretty much what we do. We combine multiple active ingredients in different dosage forms or different strengths compared to what is commercially available, or we make products that aren't commercially available at all because they've been back ordered, orphaned, discontinued, or the commercial product has a dye or an allergen that the patient may be sensitive or allergic to. So the compounding pharmacies can work with the doctor to give them exactly what the doctor ordered. So I got my medication from this doctor, and my life changed. I went through puberty at the age of 25, which is amazing. It's an interesting experience to go through in your adulthood. And so I got all the symptoms. I got some chest hair. I got more strength, libido, endurance, stamina, muscle mass as well. I normalized. I gained 15 pounds of muscle without having to work out, which is just amazing. And I became very interested in, these drugs that I was taking, because I was still, at this time, I was not, I couldn't work anymore. And I was still living with my mother. And, $400 a month, even from this compounding pharmacy, was a lot to pay. And so I started asking, like, why is something that, comes in a vial and has a top and so a little sprinkling of active ingredient, why does it cost hundreds of dollars? And, I did my research and, being an automotive engineer, I understood how bill of materials worked. And that bill of materials for my medications I determined was about $1. Yet I was being charged several hundred. And I was like, why is this? So it started researching the industry and researching the pharmaceutical industry, compounding industry, went into compounding conferences, seminars, and read as much as I could on the subject, and figured out that it did not have to be this expensive.
Mhm.
You can price drugs however you want in this country, which is I think why big pharma does price it however they want. And there are no rules around it, but it doesn't mean you have to price it that high. And in the compounding pharmacies, we were able to create a better outcome by combining all these ingredients together and create tailoring that medication for that individual patient. And so that was my introduction to compounded medicine and to functional medicine at that. But I'll get to functional medicine in a second, because I was interested in one small aspect of functional medicine, which was hormone replacement therapy.
Mhm.
And so I just decided to start my own compounding pharmacy, got licensed as a pharmacy technician, hired a pharmacist, converted an exam room in the back of a doctor's office into a makeshift pharmacy, about 150 square feet, and got to work giving patients what I would want from a pharmacy, and building the entire system around that. What's best for the patient, what's best for the provider, and
Mhm.
then everybody else, every other stakeholder comes after that.
Mhm.
So what do patients want? What do providers want? We want quality, we want good service, we want low cost, and we want consistency. So we want to get the same medicine over and over and over again, not have to worry about variance in formula or formulary or quality over time. And that really wasn't too available in the compounding industry, especially 15 years ago when I started the company. So over time, just using these ethos of concentrating on people, quality service, and innovation, and forever iterating to make these variables a little better over time. But over time, over 15 years, they get a lot better.
Mhm.
And that's still kind of what we do today. So, fast forward to where we are today, we've got about 382,000 square feet of manufacturing space, serving several million patients across the country with functional medicine. So now let's talk about functional medicine. Functional medicine is a form of integrative health where you integrate multiple modalities to be able to treat the patient holistically and really get down to the root cause of what is causing a patient to have symptoms or cause a disease state in a later stage of if the patient hasn't addressed these root causes soon enough. So what functional medicine does, let's give an example. So let's say, I have a problem with hormone replacement therapy. Well, now I'm on testosterone. I may get some acne. I may get some hair loss. Well, now I'm in the dermatology space. And if you're in the dermatology space, you may benefit from other therapies like IV nutrition, because IV nutrition will get your skin better, make you feel better. And then if you're doing IV nutrition, you may also be doing weight management. And so, if you're malnourished, if you have to get IV nutrition, you're not getting the right type of nutrients, the right type of foods, you may be obese. So now you have these other comorbidities you need to worry about. If you're obese, you may have sexual function issues. So now you're in the urologic region and doing sexual wellness and doing, let's say for men, it's Viagra, for women, there aren't that many options available, but with compounding, there is. So this is where functional medicine really shines. It looks at every single aspect of a patient's health and addresses them all at the same time through ideally a single provider, instead of someone sending you to this specialist for this comorbidity and that specialist for that reason. It brings it all together where you're solving the root cause and really bringing a patient not just to where they, where the provider thinks that they should be, but really optimizes them so that the human organism can perform at optimal performance. And so that's, that's kind of my story and how I got involved in this industry. And, because we're such a mission driven company, like our goal is to expand access to quality, affordable medicine through customization, compounded medication, so people can live healthier, happier lives. And it doesn't matter where you are in this country or where you are in this world, we are all going to age, and we are all going, and we should all address these issues in a preventative fashion, so that one, we can benefit from performing at our peak levels, while at the same time preventing a lot of these problems, these sicknesses in the first place.
Yeah, let's talk about peak performance, because when I look at how you've grown Empower Pharmacy, I mean, you have scaled this operation in the last 15 years in remarkable ways. You mentioned the square footage of some of your manufacturing facilities, I think over several 100,000 square feet of manufacturing facility. You have over 600 plus compounded formulas available through Empower. And I think the stat on your website is over 100 million plus of dispensed doses of your compounded formulations. I mean, remarkable that you've been able to grow this business in the past 15 years in this way. Um, when you look at your leadership style, Shaun, and the decisions that you've had to make as a leader, um, it, how did you do it? How did you, I mean, obviously market opportunity, but also under your leadership and your style, you've been able to grow the business in just a remarkable fashion. So if you could just touch maybe a little bit on your leadership style, um, how you approach culture at Empower, I think it might benefit our audience.
Oh, absolutely. When you start a company on your own, you kind of have to do everything, yeah, on your own. Uh, and so, I like to think of myself as a servant leader, because I have done every single role in this company at one point in time or another. And so, it's really looking at, what do your staff need in order for them to be most successful in their roles. And also, looking at, like looking at your first two stakeholders, your most important ones, your patients. For us, it's our patients and our providers, and what do we do to make them happy? Well, we need to make sure that our people are happy, because our people that serve our final end users, our patients and our providers.
Mhm.
And so it's making sure that you have a culture built on empathy, integrity, and accountability. Because at the end of the day, if that patient doesn't get the medicine in their hands, then they are going to continue suffering. And that is, that is what we prevent. That's really what our purpose is to minimize the suffering in this world by making people healthier and happier. And so, leading by example is so important. I will never ask somebody to do something if I have not done it myself. And if they don't know how to do it, make sure that I will either show them myself, or I'll make sure that they get the training from somebody that can do that. So over time, it's gone from me doing all the training myself to building a talent development department, what we call Empower U, Empower University,
Yep.
where, at any stage of any of the hundreds of different roles within our company, there is a career path. And depending on the performance and the competency, based on the trainings that we give them, they can then qualify to move up to the next level in their career. And so, yeah, it's all about continuous improvement, transparency, collaboration, and always asking your team, like, what can I do better? What can we do better as a company to be able to serve you, so that you can better serve our stakeholders?
Wonderful. Um, I want to go back to just the business model of compounding pharmacies, because in doing some of the research for this conversation, I know that compounding pharmacies are very much involved in the weight loss management space of these GLP-1 inhibitors, which are, yeah, known under the brand names of Wegovy and Mounjaro, and um, what role, so I know that a lot of the large pharmaceutical companies are scaling up manufacturing to meet demand. And I also noticed you're scaling up production as well to meet demand for these weight loss management drugs. What role do you play in, say, when there's a huge demand for something like these GLP-1 inhibitors? Do Are you contacted, or are you outsourcing? What's the relationship between big pharma and you? Are you generating and creating these formulas to service your customers directly?
Yeah, it's a great question. Compounding pharmacies, one of the reasons we exist is to be able to add additional supply to the US supply chain during times of shortage, because there is no legal avenue besides compounding pharmacies and outsourcing facilities to get medication in this country. And outside of a shortage. So when the shortage occurred, our providers, let us know that they couldn't get their hands on these medications. And so then we asked them, well, how would you like if you could have any formula you wanted, that could best benefit your patient, what would it be? And so, we gathered all this data from many of our prescribers that utilize our services. And then we worked with our R&D team to determine, what's the best formula, for the largest patient population that would satisfy all of these prescribers' needs. And that's pretty much what a compounding pharmacy does. We work with the prescriber to determine, to give the doctor exactly what they ordered for their patient, not what's just commercially available in that one, dosage form or dosage strength, or that may not benefit that patient as much when a prescriber determines there will be a clinically different, a significant difference between the commercial medication and a compounded medication. So the GLP-1 agonists are just one of many products, hundreds of products that we manufacture, where a prescriber has determined that there is a need where their patient can be better served. And this is why we see compounding as the future of healthcare, because it gives the prescriber the ability to individualize that therapy for each patient, because we're all different. We're all different ages, different genders, different genetics, different, we have different allergies, and we have different internal biomarkers, depending on our genetics, our environment, our nutrition, and many other factors. And so to give a patient this one size fits all model just isn't the best way to do medicine. And we're starting to learn that compounding pharmacies can help give that extra tool in that provider's quiver. So when they can't be better served by a commercial product, they can then work with a compounding pharmacist and develop a treatment protocol that best serves that patient.
This may, forgive me, Shaun, this may be a very naive question, but as an example, would it be fair to say that, say I was unable to take a pill, but I needed this medication, would a compounding pharmacy serve the role of providing something other than like another vehicle besides a pill for me to take that medicine prescribed by my doctor?
That's absolutely right. Yeah,
Okay.
and so we'll work with your doctor and figure out, if that pill doesn't work, we can make it into a transdermal cream. So, or we can make it into an injection, or we can make it into any other dosage form you can imagine. We actually manufacture, I think 16 different dosage forms in our company. Lozenges, troches, suppositories, topical solutions, ointments, creams, gels. I mean, the list goes on and on. And so we can work with your provider to give you exactly what is going to work best for you and that you're going to be most compliant with.
Fascinating. Talking about the challenge and the opportunity in your industry and space, what are some of the challenges or opportunities that you see on the horizon or you're experiencing now, kind of in this era of personalized medicine?
And so challenges are that not many people are aware of functional medicine, or that compounding pharmacies exist to be able to serve this purpose. But that is the opportunity. We're very lucky where we have amazing providers that are going out and doing podcasts, doing conferences, and teaching, their patients and the patient populations that they serve that there's a better way of doing medicine.
Mhm.
And and working with one of these functional medicine providers is really how we see we can unlock better performance, better health, increasing a patient's health span as well as their lifespan. Health span being the amount of time in their life that they are healthy. And so, that's really where we stand. It's our job to, one, help these providers educate and educate patients and providers ourselves, but at the same time, be able to create this sustainable pharmaceutical supply chain where we can become fully vertically integrated and kick out all the unnecessary middlemen that our traditional healthcare system
Mhm.
is burdened with. So, for example, if you want to get a drug, first you have to get it manufactured by a big pharma manufacturer. Once
Sure.
big pharma is done manufactured, then goes to a wholesaler. Once the wholesaler gets it, they then sell it to a pharmacy. When the pharmacy gets it, before they can dispense it to a patient. In most cases, it has to go through insurance. So then you have your insurance carriers and you have your PBMs. Well, the system that we've created that we think is the future of healthcare is a cash-based system, similar to what Mark Cuban is doing or GoodRx is doing, where you don't even involve insurance at all. You just become the manufacturer. And by being an FDA registered 503B manufacturer, outsourcing facility, and a registered wholesaler distributor and a pharmacy all in one, we become the entire supply chain just by charging cash and kicking out the PBMs and the insurance carriers. And our cash price ends up being less than a copay would be in the first place. So it makes insurance unnecessary in many cases and can ensure that our patients can get access to these drugs for the rest of their lives and not have to deal with price increases or opaqueness in drug pricing or and more importantly, it's good for the providers because now they can be assured that they're not going to be losing that patient due to non-compliance or pricing. So it's a much better system that we've been able to create. I think it's been one of the reasons why we grow so quickly because more and more patients and providers are getting educated on uh, the positive outcomes that they're getting using functional medicine providers and compounding pharmacies and making it and with our system, it gets more affordable over time. Whereas, the traditional system gets more expensive over time. So this is where we see a new system that really serves the best interests of its primary stakeholders, patients and providers.
Wonderful. Yeah, and just to highlight those price controls, using just a short example, I think you said it grows at a compounded annual rate of 11%. I mean, I think if my mental math is correct, that means about every 6 years, your $100 becomes 200, becomes 400. So to the point you made earlier, if you are on these medicines for, 20, 25 years, you're looking at a very different annual spend than maybe you started with.
Right, exactly. You could be. And that's primarily because you have all these middlemen. Every single time that the drug exchanges your hands, they have to make their own margin. And, by simply removing them, you can cut a drug's cost by 80%, which is on average what we cut the difference between our medications and maybe one that's commercially out in the market. So that's really where we see the future of healthcare is becoming more vertically integrated and establishing direct B2B and B2C channels with every single pharmaceutical end user in the country.
Amazing. Amazing. Um, I want to ask you, you've touched on a few of the conscious capitalism tenets. For the benefit of our audience, we have four: higher purpose, stakeholder orientation, conscious culture, and conscious leadership. We've touched on two. Um, of those four, Shaun, which one resonates with you the most as a
You know,
leader, as a CEO?
it's I'd say it's balancing purpose and profit.
Mhm.
Especially in our industry, we are the pharmaceutical industry is pretty infamous for not being able to balance purpose and profit. And so, we're very clear on our purpose. Our purpose is to revolutionize healthcare by introducing custom formularies that innovative products that end up improving a patient's quality of life, their health, their happiness, so that we can expand access to
Mhm.
more quality, affordable medication to more patients. And the traditional way of thinking is that, well, I've got to charge as much as possible to be able to make as much profit as possible, so I can, pay off my investors and uh, and be able to scale my business as quickly as possible. Well, you know, we don't think that way. While it is important that there is a good rate of return, if you will get that, we found, you can grow your company to 50% a year, 100% a year, simply by innovating, figuring out what your provider, what your end users, they really want, and making that experience as seamless and convenient and cost effective as possible. And looking at ways to innovate within your industry to be able to lower the costs over time through the iterative process, and offering better ways to serve your people so that they can serve your end users. And one way that we've been able to really do that, is by offering our people a taste of functional medicine. So by being an employee of Empower, you get access to free IV nutrition every single Thursday. If you once a week, if you want to benefit from an immune cocktail, a performance cocktail, a beauty cocktail, we can give those to you. We'll give them to you free of charge. And on top of that, we'll also give you access to a corporate benefit where you can get affordable access to a functional medicine provider that will give you the ability, prescribe you if you need it, every medication within our formulary, all 600 drugs that we make, whether it's men's health, women's health, hormone replacement, sexual wellness, dermatology, IV nutrition, weight management, longevity medicine. I mean, anything. If you want it, it's free of charge to you. And so, this way, they can really see what it's like to be fully optimized, which makes them perform better in their jobs, makes them more passionate about what they do, and makes them healthier and happier, which then, of course, they can then spread that happiness to others, because it's very difficult to be conscientious when you're miserable. So, one thing that we found is, if once we make our people happy, they take care of everything else. And the way that I was made, because I was, before I got into this medicine, I was depressed, I was a miserable human being, and then I got healthy. And now it's my mission in life is to make as many people as healthy as possible so that they can spread that luck out to as many other people as possible. Because health is something that, many of us are lucky enough to have, because we're either not educated on how to be healthy, or we just don't have the resources or knowledge to be able to make ourselves healthy. And so that's my job, is to be able to expand this to our people and let them take care of the rest.
Amazing. Amazing. I want to go back to something you mentioned, Empower You. Is that for your customers, your providers, or is that an internal program?
It's an internal program for our employees.
Okay.
So whenever they come in, we will train them, because it's a very unique kind of industry that we're in. Traditionally, you're either a manufacturer, you're a wholesaler, or you're a pharmacy. Well, we're all three. And so, we couldn't really rely on the training programs that were out there that could meet our needs. And so we developed our own internally, and we provide those to all of our staff, whether they're new or they want continuing education to be able to move up in the organization.
Awesome. We are getting very close to that time for some questions from the audience. Feel free to we won't use Q&A for this one. Just drop them into chat. Should be easy for me to monitor. If you have any questions for Shaun. Okay. We did get a question here. I'll tell you what. Shaun, I'm going to parse this question out for the benefit of the audience, but I'm going to start with one. But again, audience, feel free to drop your questions into chat. I'm going to kick one off to you first to kind of get things going here for Q&A, Shaun. Obviously, you have grown again this business tremendously. Um, what is the most pivotal strategic decision that you made that significantly impacted the trajectory of this company, of Empower Pharmacy? What was it over the course of the past 15 years that just kind of sent you off in a new direction?
Yeah, it's been investing into the future. You know, uh, that's the basic, premise. Our four core values are people, quality, service, and innovation. And innovation takes time and it takes resources to be able to do so. If you build innovation into your company where you're always dedicating a certain amount of time and a certain amount of resources to the future, then you will get better over time. And for us, I think the most significant one was registering with the FDA as a 503B outsourcing facility. For those of you that don't know what an outsourcing facility is, it's a hybrid compounding pharmacy and pharmaceutical manufacturer that's able to make these medications in bulk, custom medications, and then sell them in bulk to institutions, providers, clinics, or even other pharmacies for them to then administer or redispense or to the final end user, the patients. And that's really what separated us from the rest of the market. And now we see, about 12 years after the outsourcing facility category was created, many other providers are learning that this is indeed a way to get access to quality, affordable medicine at scale.
Amazing. The questions have begun to roll in. Uh, Perry, you submitted your question via iPhone. I will get to that. We will definitely get to your question. I'm still working on how to parse it out and present it to Shaun. But I'm going to take it from the top. Steve asked Shaun, what are the biggest challenges to scaling the business that you've encountered?
It's because we've worked off operational cash flow our entire history. We don't have any investors. It's always been balancing what is the most important strategic project to prioritize without going bankrupt, so to speak. Because a lot of these projects, they can be very expensive and take a lot of time to generate a return. So it's always thinking of what is most important, what can provide the most improvement to your system that you're trying to build as quickly as possible, so that you can then roll it out. And what is that like? Well, it's determined by your end users. What do they find most important? What do they want from your company? What's your unique value that you offer that maybe your competitors do not? It's really identifying those and then focusing on those relentlessly and solving them until you create a benefit to your end user, and then reiterating once again to make it better and better over time.
Amazing. Next up, Chad asks, Chad is with Life Abundant Leadership. As you've scaled the business, how have you reinforced conscious culture in your company? You touched on this a little bit, but if there's anything else you'd like to add around that conscious culture piece that's led to the success of you and your team members.
It starts with a good onboarding process. Making sure that every single person that comes into your company understands why you exist, why we do what we do, how we do it, and giving them those the learning access to trainings. If they want to do them at home, if they want to do them on the job, we can do that. And giving them support. So support from leaders that believe the same tenets and values of your company. So it also means making sure you hire the right people that believe in your values and your core responsibilities as you've decided and core behaviors that you decided as a company are what's most important that makes your company what it is. And like I said, always trying to add more learning, add to it over time, so the system gets better and better. So your people can get better and better, and then they can serve others better.
Amazing. Thank you for that. And Chad, thanks for the question. Let's see. All right, David Lewis, thanks for reiterating your question. He asked, Shaun, what is your plan to push back against big pharma you're taking market share. I think David is highlighting that big pharma is recognizing that your industry and Empower is taking market share. So what is your strategy to counter that attack, if we want to characterize it as that?
Oh, sure, sure. And it is an attack, I think. Big pharma is not afraid of saying they like monopolies. Like it's really how you can price a drug however you want. Uh, uh, and yeah, something needs to change. What we do, we don't really focus on attacking big pharma. We just focus on the provider, the patient. Like, what do they want?
Mhm.
How can we give them better quality, better service, better outcomes, better pricing, better everything? So it's all about focusing on building just a new, more virtuous supply chain
Mhm.
and letting our end users decide whether they would rather use big pharma or us.
Wonderful. Couple more questions. Thanks, everyone. We will get to them, Tish, Josiah. But Mandy asks, do you generally see providers being open to prescribing compounded medications, or is there still a lot of pushback due to their lack of time or their knowledge of traditional pharmaceutical systems that are in place?
That's a
In
great question. I think it's just a lack of knowledge. Functional medicine and the utilization of compounding pharmacies is not taught in medical school.
Mhm.
So most providers coming out of college don't even know what a compounding pharmacy is. They don't know how to prescribe functional medicine. They have to go on their own, on their own dollar as well, to conferences or working with other colleagues or learning about functional medicine and incorporating those protocols into their own practice. So it's just a matter of education. But with now that most prescribers are learning how to use podcasts, following great, very famous influencers, famous doctors that are teaching them how they use functional medicine within their own practices, they can then incorporate those and start and then start working with compounding pharmacies and this different form of medicine that is actually actually treats the root cause instead of just covering it up with the synthetic drug.
Thank you. And Tish asks, and I'll second this because you tune in to any major news network between 6 and 9 p.m. or 6 and 10, and pharmaceutical ad after pharmaceutical ad. I open a magazine, there's a pharmaceutical ad. Tish is wondering how you market Empower and your services because we are so drenched in big pharma ads.
Yeah,
What's your strategy to stay nimble and promote your services, Shaun?
we've been very lucky over the years. I mean, we just focus obsessively on creating more value for our providers and our patients and let them do the marketing for us. So creating what some people call raving fans, you know, when you give them a product that literally changes their lives, you know, uh, very few of us uh, can't stop talking about it. And so, it's all about just creating a better system and letting your customers, your end users, do the work for you. Now, of course, also educating providers on how to do functional medicine. We have our own medical affairs team that goes out and helps providers convert from commercial medications to compounded medications if they want to do so. And at the same time, having a great website, really going over your services, who you are, what you do, and the products that you offer so that others can teach themselves. They have the tools now to learn on their own if they want to.
Yeah, and speaking of great websites, this is a perfect time to just drop Empower Pharmacy's link in the chat. Don't let it distract you. We've only got about 15 more minutes left, but yeah, it's really, really elegant, impactful, and clear on the services that you're actually providing, at least to end customers, Shaun. So kudos there. Josiah is asking, Shaun, you've been in this space for 15 years. How is the public perception of functional medicine changing? And where do you see it trending?
When I started on the space, there was really no such thing as functional medicine, or at least it wasn't, it was not popularized as it is today. We see more and more providers learning about functional medicine, and once they hear about it, they're they want to learn more. They figured out, they're sick of practicing ambulatory medicine where they're treating a patient once they already have a disease state. And by the time that patient presents, it's in many cases too late. It's hard to get, a 70-year-old patient that has diabetes and has had amputations to go back to normal. It's impossible, arguably. And so, a lot of providers want to learn how can they actually help their patients get healthier. And now that functional medicine is accepted and the results are pretty much proven that they can improve quality of life no matter what stage the patient is in, whether they are first getting introduced in their 20s or if they're already sick. There is a way that you can benefit from functional medicine. And there are so many modalities, so many treatments that can just be stacked on top of each other and provide a synergistic response. So, I think functional medicine is still in its infancy. There's still a long way to go because, it's still a fraction of a percentage of all prescriptions in this country are for functional medicine. The vast majority are for sick care. So that's what needs to change. And I think as we become more educated as a culture and a society about the importance of taking care of our health before it's too late, then we will start, it will be much more accepted and practiced throughout and taught in schools and practiced as a daily part of our daily routines, as it should be.
Yeah, indeed. And as promised, I want to get back to Perry's question. First of all, Perry, thanks for your service. I see that you're a U.S. Army trained pharmacy specialist and pharmacy technician. So thank you for your service again. He's asking, are you working with retailers, wholesalers, GPOs, not sure what that acronym means, that do not provide pharmacy compounding services to reach the most customers and markets as possible? And are you partnering with companies like Hims to provide custom compounded formulas? And also kudos and congratulations per Perry's question on your
Well, thank you,
success.
Perry, and thank you again for your service. And by the way, if you ever decide to become a patient of Empower Pharmacy, we offer 25% off of all of our compounded formulas for service members. So thank you again. One thing that we've tried to do throughout our history is become that direct supply chain to our end users. So we have not worked with GPOs or other pharmacies or wholesalers. Now, with an update to the draft guidance in the FDA released last year, that the FDA said for outsourcing facilities, we can now sell our drugs to GPOs, wholesalers, and pharmacies. So these are markets that we are now exploring. And then to the second part of your question, please remind me, what was the second question?
The second question is, are you partnering with companies like Hims for custom formulations and compounds?
Yes, absolutely. The vast majority of our prescriptions originate from telemedicine companies. As the consumerization of healthcare during the pandemic, forced patients to interact with their provider using a system like this. And so now that a lot more patients are comfortable utilizing telemedicine, and now there are hundreds of large telemedicine companies like the Hims and Romans out there that can provide affordable access, convenient access to these medicines. This is where we see the future of functional medicine headed towards.
Amazing. I know you had said in a prior interview, Shaun, that you find the climate of doing business in Texas very, very friendly. There's no other place you would rather have Empower focused or excuse me, based. David brought up a comment about the lobbies, the amount of money that's being spent to support different big pharma initiatives. Have you found, I can't imagine that there's a compounding lobby yet, a compounding pharmacy lobby yet. May it be so in 5 years, having some representatives in DC, but have you found allies that on a state level who are invested in compounding pharmacies and supporting, being just overall holistically supporting your business endeavors in your industry?
Yeah, it's difficult to out lobby the largest lobbyer in the world.
Mhm.
And so while we do lobby, I was in DC a couple weeks ago, lobbying myself, educating our congressmen and women on the issues going on in our industry.
Mhm.
There really isn't a huge effort. Our own trade association only has several $100,000 a year dedicated to lobbying effort versus Big Pharma having several $100 million a year dedicated to it. So, but it involves a lot more grassroots efforts and bringing in stakeholders, the patient populations that are actually being affected by not having access to quality, affordable medicine for these types of disease states that they're dealing with. And so it's our job to go in and educate our legislators and regulators the value of compounded medicine and how it solves a lot of problems and helps a lot of people.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you for that comment. And David, thank you for the follow-up commentary as well. Shaun, I want to be mindful of your time. If there's any last questions, we'll get to maybe one or two more. But we did manage to get through all the questions, Shaun, so thank you for that. Just to close things out here, I do want to provide you with an opportunity to share. I put empowerpharmacy.com into the chat, but if there's any other ways, Shaun, that our audience can follow you or find out what you're doing at Empower, LinkedIn, or anything such, feel free to mention those. If not,
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, Empower Pharmacy is where you can find us. We're on social media. LinkedIn is where we're most active. So if you want to follow myself or Empower Pharmacy, you can hear about all the different things that we're doing to change healthcare.
amazing. I'm going to just put a quick survey link into the chat. This does help inform the programming that we bring to our conscious capitalist audience. Feel free to complete the survey. 3 questions helps me. So thank you in advance. And if this is the first time you're joining a conscious capitalism webinar and want to learn more about our organization, I've put that in the chat as well. Shaun, any parting thoughts?
Folks, well, thank you everybody out there that are practicing conscious capitalism and incorporating its tenets into your own business so that we can lead transformative change and make this world a better, healthier, happier place. So thank you everybody for doing your part and stay healthy out there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And on that, we will close. Thank you to the audience. Have a great rest of your day and week, and be well all. Thank you. Thanks again, Shaun.
My pleasure. Thank you.